Morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. You're looking at volcanodiscovery.com. This is a website that shows active volcanoes. So this image you're seeing are all the active volcanoes, about 25 of them. You can go to volcanodiscovery.com and see them. But I want to look at an article here talking about how many there are. How many volcanoes would you guess are erupting right this minute? Would you guess 5? Would you guess 10? Try 25, it says. Many of them in the Far East, but plenty in Central and South America, as you can see in the image there, around the so-called Ring of Fire. And all this activity is sparking fears by seismological experts and ordinary people who live near hundreds of active and dormant volcanoes from California to Japan about the next possible big one. And of course, volcanoes coincide pretty much directly with earthquakes. They're all kind of related, plate tectonics and all this kind of thing. Cause and trigger each of them. Meanwhile, it goes on, there's concern about supervolcanoes in the US and Japan that experts say could kill hundreds of millions of people and even make the planet uninhabitable. And they absolutely will. God's going to use fire to cleanse the earth from all the sin. At least 3 potential supervolcanoes have the attention of scientists worldwide because of the devastation of any of them. 2 in the U.S. and 1 in Japan. Isn't it interesting that there's 2 in the U.S.? Is that a way that they're taken out of end-time Bible prophecy? And that would be absolutely devastating for Canada as well. And that could wreak on the planet, killing tens of thousands and ravaging global economies. Wreak havoc, I think, on the planet. Rumblings continue at the Yellowstone caldera in America's most famous national park. Scientists warn that a major eruption of the Wyoming volcano would kill an estimated 87,000 people immediately and render two-thirds of the U.S. uninhabitable. Well, I could go on. I'm going to put the link in the description. But this article basically suggests that there's a lot of possibility of trouble. I want to take a look at what this has to do with Bible prophecy, potentially. And I'll put the link to this one in the article as well. Volcanoes are often triggered or accompanied by earthquakes, which are directly mentioned in Bible prophecy. Jesus Christ included earthquakes in his famous Olivet Discourse. He prophesied of famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. That's from Matthew 24. Prophetic passages in the Old Testament warn mankind of phenomena described very similarly to what we call volcanoes today. You will be punished by the Lord of hosts with thunder and earthquake and great noise, with storm and tempest and the flame of devouring fire. That's out of Isaiah 29. Have you heard of that one before? I don't even recall seeing that. I'm sure I read it, but I didn't connect it to volcanoes. These biblical prophecies are often associated with catastrophic events leading up to Christ's second coming. Isn't that interesting? Blow the trumpet in Zion, and sound an alarm in my holy mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. The Song of Moses also speaks prophetically of similar divine punishments. They have provoked me to jealousy by what is not God. They have moved me to anger by their foolish idols. For a fire is kindled in my anger, and shall burn to the lowest hell. It shall consume the earth with her incense, and set on fire the foundations of the mountains. That's from Deuteronomy 32. The Apostle John describes major events leading to the second coming in the final book of the Bible. I looked, and this is a quote, I looked when he, Christ, opened the 6th seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood, and every mountain and island was moved out of its place. Revelation 6. It goes on, whether or not these prophecies specifically refer to volcanoes, they're all dire warnings of disasters brought on by humanity's sin and rejection of God. I think you could easily argue that a volcanic eruption could be a trigger, could be one of the triggers of one of these things, absolutely. And so I do believe that these are very connected with end-time Bible prophecy, and even more obviously with the final judgment of fire that God uses to cleanse the earth of all the unrighteousness and sin once and for all. He cleans it out with fire, just like you're cleansing metals, gold and silver, and you want to clear out the impurities in that metal. That's what God is going to do with the earth, to wipe it out, and so that he can rebuild it. So that's where I think volcanoes are in the last days, and also interesting that the volcanoes and the earthquakes are really connected with verses that speak of events just happening prior to or in concert with the second coming of Christ. So I'll leave it there for your consideration. Thanks for watching. I'll put the links in the description, but that's pretty interesting stuff.